The meeting hall floated in space above Nexus Prime. Inside, creatures from 47 different worlds sat in their assigned seats. Some had scales, some had fur, others were made of living crystal or floated in tanks of purple gas. They all came here for one reason. The Galactic Council was in session. Ambassador Jiwoo walked to the center of the massive room. Her boots clicked on the smooth floor. She was human, which meant she looked small compared to most of the aliens around her. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed no emotion. She had been waiting for this day for 3 years. "Honored council members," Jiwoo began. Her voice was calm and clear. "The Terran Coalition requests full membership in the Galactic Council. We have completed our 20-year provisional period. We have followed all requirements. We have opened our worlds to inspections. We have shared our technology. We ask now to be recognized as equals." Before anyone could respond, a tall creature rose from its seat. It looked like a giant praying mantis made of green metal. Its name was Thress, and it represented the Velkari people. Its voice came out like scraping knives. "I object to this request," Thress announced. "In fact, I propose the opposite. I propose we ban humanity from further expansion immediately." The room erupted in noise. Clicks, chirps, whistles, and sounds that human ears could not even process filled the air. But most of all, there was laughter. High-pitched giggling from the Quelna, deep booming chuckles from the Hevrani. Even the crystalline beings made sounds like breaking glass that Jiwoo knew meant amusement. The council president, a massive slug-like creature named Vorth, raised 3 of its eye stalks. "Order," it said. Its voice was wet and slow. "Delegate Thress, explain yourself." Thress moved to a display panel. Images appeared in the air above the council floor. Human ships, human colonies, human soldiers. "Look at what they have accomplished in only 200 years, Thress said. "They have spread to 40 systems. They have built weapons that rival species who have existed for millions of years. They reproduce rapidly. They expand aggressively. They are dangerous." More laughter filled the room. A delegate with 6 legs stood up. "Dangerous? They are children playing with toys. They have no psionic abilities. They cannot even communicate telepathically. They die if the air is slightly wrong." Another voice joined in. "Their ships are tiny. Their weapons are primitive projectiles. My grandmother's civilian yacht has stronger shields than their battleships." Thress's mandibles clicked together in frustration. "You do not understand. Humanity is different. They think differently. They fight differently. I have studied them. I have seen what they do. We must contain them now before it is too late." The laughter grew louder. Even Vorth seemed amused. Its massive body rippled. "Delegate Thress, your concern is noted, but perhaps it is excessive. The humans have been peaceful neighbors. They have caused no incidents. They have asked permission for every colony. They have traded fairly. I see no reason to fear them." Thress turned to Jiwoo. Its black eyes reflected nothing. "You hide what you are. You pretend to be weak, but I know the truth. I demand a vote on immediate containment. All human colonies restricted. No more expansion. Constant monitoring." Jiwoo did not react to the insult. She had expected this. She knew Thress had been building support for weeks. She knew some council members were afraid of how fast humanity had grown. Fear made people do stupid things. It did not matter what species they were. She stepped forward. "Honored President, I request permission to speak before any vote is taken." Vorth's eye stalks waved. "You have already made your request, Ambassador. I request 10 minutes to show the Council something, a piece of evidence. After they see it, they can vote on whatever they wish. But they should see it first." The room went quiet. Delegates whispered to each other. Vorth considered. Finally, it spoke. "Very well. 10 minutes, Ambassador, but only because I am curious what you think could possibly change our minds about this ridiculous proposal. Jiwoo nodded. She pulled a data chip from her pocket and inserted it into the council system. The lights in the chamber dimmed. A title appeared in the air in every language the council spoke. The Daejeon Incident. What you are about to see, Jiwoo said quietly, happened 3 years ago. Most of you never heard about it. We made sure of that. But Delegate Thress is right about one thing. You should know what humans really are before you vote. She pressed play. The room fell silent as the video began. The video showed a planet from space. It was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green continents stretched between them. White clouds swirled in patterns. A small text box appeared on the screen identifying it. Daejeon Colony, established 15 years ago, population 340,000. The view zoomed closer. Cities appeared. They were small compared to the massive structures the council species built. Human buildings were simple, metal and glass, gardens between them, rivers running through the streets. Children played in parks. Markets bustled with people buying food and clothes. Farms stretched across valleys. Scientists worked in laboratories. This was a peaceful colony, Jiwoo's voice explained over the footage. Families lived here, teachers, farmers, artists. We had 12 schools, 3 hospitals, no military bases, just security officers to help with accidents and disagreements. The footage switched to space above the planet. The date stamp showed 3 years earlier. Everything was quiet. The colony's few satellites drifted in orbit. A handful of civilian ships moved between the planet and the system's outer mining stations. Then the stars changed. Reality tore open. Massive ships poured out of slip space like sharks entering a feeding ground. One appeared, then 10, then 50, then more. They kept coming until 200 warships surrounded the small colony world. Each ship was bigger than anything the colony had. They were built like weapons, all angles and armor. Guns bristled from every surface. Several council members shifted in their seats. They recognized those ships, Krell Dominion vessels. The Krell were known throughout the galaxy. They were raiders, slavers. They believed strength gave them the right to take whatever they wanted. 2 years ago, a council coalition had finally broken their empire. But this footage was from before that. The largest Krell ship moved into position above Daejeon's capital city. A transmission broadcast on all frequencies. The video showed the message. A Krell commander appeared. It had gray skin stretched over a skull-like face. Its eyes were black. Its teeth were sharp and yellow. "Human colony," the Krell commander said. Its voice was like rocks grinding together. "You will surrender immediately. All colonists will be processed as labor stock. You have 1 hour to comply. Resistance will result in orbital bombardment. Your cities will burn. Your people will die. Surrender is your only option." The transmission ended. The council chamber was completely silent now. No one laughed. The video switched to the colony's government building. A woman sat at a desk. Text identified her as Governor Hana. She looked tired. She had probably been woken up when the Krell arrived. But her hands were steady as she opened a communication channel to the Krell flagship. "Krell Commander," Hana said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I have a counter-proposal. You have 30 minutes to leave this system. If you are still here in 31 minutes, you will regret every decision that brought you to this moment." The video split screen. On one side, Governor Hana sat at her desk. On the other, the Krell commander stared at her. Then he started laughing. It was a horrible sound, like metal scraping on bone. "You are a farming colony," the Krell commander said between laughs. "You have no warships, no weapons, no defenses. What will you do? Throw your vegetables at my fleet?" Hana's expression did not change. "We called for help," she said simply. "They are already here." The Krell commander accessed his sensors. He studied the screens. His officers did the same. They scanned the entire system, planets, moons, asteroid fields, Empty space, nothing, no ships, no energy signatures, nothing but the colony and the Krell fleet. The commander looked back at Hana's face on his screen. "You are bluffing. There is nothing here but you and us. I admire the attempt, human, but your courage is wasted. Begin the bombardment. Target the capital city first. Let them watch their government burn." Krell warships powered up their weapons. Energy built in massive cannons. Targeting systems locked onto buildings below. The people of Daejeon looked up at the sky and saw death coming. Then something impossible happened. Stars started moving. What the Krell had thought were distant stars suddenly accelerated. They grew brighter. Sensor alarms screamed throughout the Krell fleet. Dozens of new contacts appeared on their screens. But they were not where the sensors said they should be. They were behind the Krell formation. Below it, some were inside it. The video showed what happened next from multiple angles. Ships appeared from nowhere, human ships. They had been there the whole time, hiding, waiting. Their stealth systems were so advanced that the Krell had looked right at them and seen nothing but empty space. Frigates decloaked at point-blank range from Krell battleships. Destroyers materialized in the gaps between capital ships. Cruisers emerged from behind moons, and all of them opened fire at the same moment. The council members leaned forward in their seats. The laughter was gone. Now there was only shock as they watched what came next. The stars had not been stars at all. They had been human warships, and now the Krell were about to learn what happens when you threaten a human colony. The human ships moved like nothing the council had ever seen. Krell vessels were huge and powerful, built like floating fortresses. Their strategy was simple. Get close, use heavy shields, overpower the enemy with bigger guns. It had worked for them for centuries, but the human ships did not fight that way. The frigates were small, maybe 1/10 the size of a Krell battleship. But they moved so fast that Krell targeting systems could not track them. They accelerated in directions that should have turned their crews into paste. They spun and dove and climbed in patterns that seemed random but were perfectly calculated, and they got close, dangerously close. The video showed a human frigate racing toward a Krell destroyer. The Krell ship fired its main cannons. Massive energy beams cut through space, but the human ship was already somewhere else. It rolled under the blast and came up along the Krell ship's side. At that range, the Krell's big guns could not angle down far enough to hit it. The human frigate fired. Not energy weapons. Metal. Solid slugs of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed by magnetic rails. The rounds punched through the Krell's shields like they were paper. They tore through armor, through hull, through the systems inside. The Krell destroyer began venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. The frigate was already gone, moving to the next target. This happened again and again throughout the Krell formation. Human ships worked in groups of 3 or 4. They isolated Krell vessels, came at them from multiple angles, fired with precision that seemed impossible. Every shot hit a weak point. Shield generators, weapon mounts, engine cores. The humans were not trying to destroy the Krell ships. They were disabling them, taking them apart piece by piece. "How are they moving like that?" a council member whispered in the chamber. No one answered. They were all watching. A Krell battleship tried something different. It could not hit the fast human ships with guns, so it launched missiles, hundreds of them. They filled space with explosions and shrapnel. Surely the small human ships could not dodge that many. The human ships released their own missiles in response, smaller, faster. The Council's military observers watched in amazement as the human missiles actively changed course mid-flight. They adapted to Krell countermeasures in real time. They jinked and weaved through defensive fire. They locked onto Krell missiles and destroyed them. Then they locked onto the battleship that had launched them. The Krell battleship's shields flared and died. Missiles struck its hull, but they did not explode. They attached themselves to the armor like parasites. Then they burned through, cutting lasers. They carved precise holes into the ship's interior. Secondary explosions rippled across the battleship's surface as internal systems failed. The entire engagement had lasted 12 minutes. 60 Krell ships were disabled or destroyed. The rest were trying to retreat. A Krell dreadnought, the largest ship in the fleet, attempted to run. It turned away from Daejeon and burned its engines at maximum. It would reach the edge of the system in minutes. Then it could jump to slip space and escape. A human destroyer moved to intercept. The destroyer was tiny compared to the dreadnought. The Krell captain saw an opportunity. If he could not escape, he would at least take one human ship with him. He turned the dreadnought toward the destroyer and accelerated. 5 million tons of armored warship on a collision course. The human destroyer waited. The dreadnought got closer. Closer. At the last possible second, the destroyer fired its maneuvering thrusters. It spun away so fast it blurred on the video. The dreadnought missed by meters. As the human ship passed along the dreadnought's hull, it released a single object. Small. Dark. It disappeared into one of the dreadnought's massive engine ports. 3 seconds later, the dreadnought's reactor went critical. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. A new sun flared briefly in Daejeon's sky. Then it faded. The dreadnought was gone. The remaining Krell ships stopped trying to fight. They stopped trying to run. They just froze in space. Their commanders could not process what had happened. 200 ships had attacked a defenseless colony. Now most of them were debris. The survivors were crippled, and the humans had not lost a single vessel. Then a new alarm sounded on every Krell ship. Their long-range sensors detected something massive coming toward the system, something moving impossibly fast. The video pulled back to show the whole star system. At the edge of the screen, a huge shape appeared. It was traveling at speeds that violated every physics model the Council used. It was crossing distances in minutes that should have taken days. Text appeared on the screen. TC carrier Incheon. Displacement 4 million tons. Crew complement 8,000. The Incheon dropped out of faster-than-light travel inside the system. The fact that it could do that was impossible. FTL travel required careful calculations and distance from gravity wells. You could not just appear in the middle of a star system. The math did not work. The energy requirements were too high. But there it was. The carrier's launch bays opened. Fighters poured out. 300 of them. They moved in perfect formation. They swarmed the remaining Krell ships like insects attacking much larger prey. The Krell tried to defend themselves. They fired point defense weapons. They launched their own fighters. It did not matter. The human fighters moved in coordinated strikes that the Council's best military analysts would later describe as beyond anything they had seen. 5 human fighters would attack a Krell cruiser. 1 would draw fire. 2 would disable shields. 2 would destroy engines. The pattern repeated across the battlefield. Precise, efficient, deadly. When it was over, only 1 Krell ship remained functional. The flagship, the commander's personal vessel. Its weapons were destroyed. Its engines were offline. It drifted in space, surrounded by the wreckage of its fleet. Every screen on the Krell flagship lit up at once. Governor Hana's face appeared on all of them. She looked exactly the same as she had at the start. Calm, steady. But now her eyes were cold. "Do you understand now?" she asked the Krell commander. "You came to a human colony expecting to find prey. You found a nest. With guardians already here, already waiting. We do not leave our people undefended. Ever." The Krell commander said nothing. He was shaking. In the council chamber, no one was laughing anymore. The video continued. A new figure appeared on the Krell flagship's main screen. He wore a human military uniform, dark blue with silver markings. The name on his chest read Admiral Tae Yang. He looked young for someone in command of a battle fleet, maybe 40 standard years. His face was calm, almost kind. It was a strange expression to wear after destroying an entire invasion force. "Krell Commander," Admiral Tae Yang said. His voice was gentle, like he was talking to a frightened child. Your weapons are disabled. Your fleet is destroyed. But you and your crew are alive. That was a choice we made. We could have killed all of you. We did not. Do you understand why? The Krell commander did not respond. He stared at the screen with wide eyes. His gray skin had turned pale. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair so hard his claws made marks in the metal. Admiral Tae Yang continued as if the silence was an answer. We want you to take a message back to your empire. Every human colony is protected. Every single one. If you attack our civilians, we will respond. Not with warnings, not with diplomacy, with total force. What you saw today was not our full strength. It was just the ships we keep near Daejeon. Every colony has the same protection. He leaned forward slightly. You attacked farmers, people who grow food, people who teach children, people who study plants and write poetry. You thought they were weak because they were not soldiers. You were wrong. They are not weak. They are precious, and humanity does not tolerate threats to precious things. The Admiral paused. Your ship's engines will be repaired enough for low-speed travel. You will return to Krell space. You will tell your leaders what happened here. You will tell them that human colonies are forbidden territory. Any Krell ship that approaches a human world will be destroyed. No warnings, no second chances. Tell them the price of aggression against humanity is too high. Tell them to find easier prey. The Krell commander found his voice. It came out as a broken whisper. How did you get here so fast? We detected no ships. Your carrier crossed 40 light years in hours. That is impossible. Our scientists say it cannot be done. Admiral Tae Yang smiled. It was not a warm smile. Your scientists are correct based on the technology you know. But humans are very good at solving impossible problems. We had to be. Our homeworld tried to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages, predators, diseases, super volcanoes. We survived by being stubborn and creative. We brought those traits with us to space. He stood up. As for how we knew you were coming, we did not. We did not know you specifically would attack Daejeon. We have rapid response fleets positioned near every colony. Every one. We watched our homeworld's history and learned that the best defense is making sure no one wants to attack in the first place. Now you know. Now your empire knows. Spread the word. The transmission ended. The Krell flagship began limping toward the edge of the system on emergency power. The video followed it for a while. Then the scene shifted. Ambassador Jiwoo's voice spoke over new footage. What you are about to see happened over the next year, after the Daejeon incident. The council watched as the video showed dates and locations. Krell raids across the galaxy, mining colonies attacked, trade stations destroyed, agricultural worlds burned. But there was a pattern. The council members saw it immediately. The Krell attacked dozens of systems belonging to dozens of species, but they never touched another human world. The footage showed Krell scout ships detecting human colonies. Every time it happened, the scouts immediately turned around and fled. They did not even try to get close. They would detect human ships in the system and run as fast as their engines could manage. Fear. The Krell had learned fear. One council member, a being made of crystalline structures that glowed blue, spoke up. This is why they became more aggressive toward the rest of us. They were afraid of you, so they attacked easier targets. Jiwoo's voice confirmed it. Yes, our victory at Daejeon had consequences. The Krell needed to show strength after such a defeat. But they could not attack us again. So they became bolder against everyone else. They raided 17 systems in 3 months, took over 400,000 slaves, destroyed 6 colonies completely. The video showed the destruction. Cities burning, ships fleeing, families torn apart. The council members who had lost people to those raids sat very still. This is not something we are proud of. Jiwoo said. "We defended our people. But our actions made things worse for others. We understood we had a responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to the whole galaxy. The Krell had become a crisis. They were growing bolder every day. Something had to be done." The scene changed again. Now it showed a massive space station. Council members recognized it. Station Unity, where the Council had gathered 2 years ago to address the Krell threat. The footage showed the emergency session. Delegates from 15 species arguing, planning, finally agreeing. They would assemble a coalition fleet, the largest military force in modern galactic history. Over 4,000 warships contributed by multiple species. Together, they would end the Krell threat permanently. The video showed the coalition assembling, massive dreadnoughts from the Telkari, swift cruisers from the Quelna, heavy carriers from the Havrani, ships from a dozen other species. It was an impressive sight. Surely nothing could stand against such a force. But there was something missing from the footage. Jiwoo pointed it out. "You will notice humanity was not invited to join this coalition. The prevailing opinion was that we were too new, too unpredictable, too aggressive. Besides, you had overwhelming numbers. You did not need us." The video showed the coalition fleet entering Krell space. Confident, strong, ready to end the threat once and for all. What happened next would change how the entire galaxy saw humanity. The council members who had been at that battle started to look uncomfortable. They knew what was coming. The video showed the Battle of Krell Prime from multiple camera angles, coalition ships, orbital satellites, even recordings from Krell vessels that were later recovered. The footage had been compiled into a single timeline that showed everything. The coalition fleet emerged from slipspace at the edge of the Krell home system. 4,000 warships in formation. It was beautiful in a terrible way. That much military power gathered in one place. The ships began their approach toward the Krell homeworld. The Krell home defense fleet moved to intercept. 800 warships. They were outnumbered 5-1. By every logical calculation, this should have been an easy victory for the coalition. Overwhelming force against a desperate defense. But war is never that simple. The first exchange of fire lit up space. Energy beams crossed the distance between fleets. Missiles launched. Fighters deployed. The battle began. Immediately, problems appeared. The coalition ships had trained together for only a few weeks. Each species had different weapons, different tactics, different communication systems. They did not move as one fleet. They moved as 15 separate groups that happened to be in the same place. The Krell had been fighting together for generations. Their tactics were refined, their coordination was perfect, and their technology was better than coalition intelligence had suggested. A Krell dreadnought targeted a Quelna cruiser. The Quelna shields were strong but designed to stop energy weapons. The Krell fired kinetic rounds, heavy metal slugs that punched through the shields and tore the cruiser apart. The Quelna had not expected that. Krell fighters used strange maneuvering patterns that confused coalition targeting systems. They would fly straight at enemy ships, then suddenly shift perpendicular at angles that should have killed the pilots. Coalition fighters could not track them. Worst of all, Krell shields regenerated faster than coalition weapons could break them down. Coalition ships would hammer a Krell vessel for minutes, get the shields down to 20%, then have to break off to avoid return fire. By the time they came back, the Krell shields were at full strength again. The battle turned into a grind. Hours passed. Ships on both sides were destroyed. But the coalition was losing more. Much more. 6 hours into the battle, coalition casualties reached 40%. 1,600 ships destroyed or too damaged to fight. 3 entire species withdrew their forces. They had lost too many vessels. They could not afford to lose more. The coalition commander, Admiral Voss of the Telkari, sat on his flagship's bridge and watched his fleet die. His species had contributed the most ships. He had lost hundreds of them, thousands of crew members. His friends, his students, people he had trained personally. His tactical officer reported that Krell reinforcements were on the way. Another 300 ships. If those arrived, the coalition would have to retreat. The mission would fail. The Krell would survive. They would rebuild. And they would remember that the galaxy had tried to destroy them and failed. Then something appeared on long-range sensors, a fleet dropping out of FTL at the system's edge. Not Krell ships. The energy signatures were different. Smaller vessels, moving fast. 120 ships. Admiral Voss opened a communication channel. Unknown fleet, identify yourself. This is a coalition military operation. You are not authorized to be here. A response came back immediately. A human face appeared on the screen. A woman in a military uniform, Captain Yuna of the carrier Sol. She looked tired, like she had been traveling for days without sleep. Admiral Voss, she said, we are the Terran Fourth Fleet. We detected your distress calls. You are losing this battle. We are here to help. Voss felt anger flash through him. We did not request human assistance. This is a coalition operation. We did not invite your species. Leave immediately. Captain Yuna's expression did not change. With respect, Admiral, we are not asking for permission. We are not waiting for an invitation. You are dying out here. Your ships are being destroyed. Your people are being killed. We will not stand by and watch that happen. Before Voss could respond, the human fleet accelerated. They dove into the battle without waiting for orders or coordination or permission. They just went. Voss watched in shock as human ships entered the combat zone. They did not form up with the coalition fleet. They did not ask where they should go or what they should target. They analyzed the battlefield in seconds and went exactly where they were needed most. A group of coalition cruisers was surrounded by Krell battleships. They were taking heavy fire. Shields failing, hulls breaching, minutes from destruction. 4 human destroyers appeared and tore into the Krell formation from behind. Magnetic accelerator rounds destroyed Krell shield generators. Missiles crippled Krell engines. The pressure on the coalition cruisers disappeared. This happened across the entire battlefield. Wherever coalition ships were in trouble, human vessels appeared. They hit the Krell from unexpected angles. They used tactics that made no sense until suddenly they did. They operated with a level of coordination that seemed impossible. A coalition captain broadcast on an open channel. How are you doing this? Your ships are not even linked by quantum communication. How are you coordinating so perfectly? Captain Yuna's voice responded. We trained for this. Every possible combat scenario. Every type of enemy. Every tactical situation. Human naval doctrine is not about having the biggest ships or the best weapons. It is about fleet coordination, information sharing, adaptive tactics. We fight as one organism with many parts. The Krell started to fall back. Their perfect coordination broke down under the combined assault of coalition and human forces. They had expected to fight 15 separate species with 15 different approaches. They could handle that. But now there were 16 approaches. And the human approach was like nothing they had ever encountered. Ships that seemed damaged would suddenly accelerate. Vessels that appeared to be retreating would spin and strike from new angles. Humans used debris fields for cover. They predicted Krell movements and positioned themselves in ambush points. The tide turned, slowly at first. Then faster. Krell ships began breaking formation. Some tried to retreat. Some fought to the last. But the outcome was no longer in doubt. Then something happened that no one expected. Something that would change everything. A Krell dreadnought, crippled and desperate, turned toward the coalition command ship. The Krell dreadnought was dying. Its shields were gone. Half its weapons were destroyed. Fires burned through 3 of its decks. But its engines still worked. And its commander made a final decision. If he was going to die, he would take the coalition leadership with him. The dreadnought turned. Its engines burned at maximum power. It accelerated directly toward Admiral Voss's flagship. the massive command ship that coordinated the entire coalition fleet, the vessel that held 12,000 crew members from 6 different species. Alarms screamed on the command ship's bridge. Tactical officers calculated the impact time, 30 seconds. The command ship tried to move, but it was too big, too slow. It had been designed to sit in the middle of the fleet and direct the battle, not to dodge attacks. Coalition ships tried to intercept. They fired everything they had at the dreadnought. Energy weapons scored its hull. Missiles exploded against its armor. But the dreadnought was already dead. A little more damage did not matter. It kept coming. 20 seconds. Admiral Voss stood on his bridge. He looked at his crew, beings from 6 different worlds working together. They had come here to stop the Krell, to make the galaxy safer. Now they were going to die together. He opened a communication channel to all ships. "It has been an honor serving with you. Tell our families we died protecting them." 15 seconds. 2 human destroyers appeared on sensors. They were not firing at the dreadnought. They were moving to intercept it, positioning themselves directly in its path. The destroyers were named Busan and Gwangju. Each carried a crew of just over 300. They were small ships, fast attack vessels designed to strike and retreat. They were not built to stop a dreadnought. 10 seconds. Captain Yuna's voice cut through every channel. "Busan, Gwangju, pull back! You cannot stop that thing!" A different voice responded, young, male, steady. "Seoul, this is Busan Actual. We can stop it. We just cannot survive stopping it." Another voice joined, female, calm. "Gwangju confirms. We have a solution. It is not a good solution, but it is a solution." 5 seconds. The 2 destroyers positioned themselves perfectly, side by side, directly in front of the command ship. Their engines fired at maximum. They accelerated toward the dreadnought instead of away from it. 3 seconds. Captain Yuna was screaming, "No, pull back, that is an order. Pull back right now." The response came back. "Negative, Seoul. 12,000 lives on that command ship, 600 on our ships. The math is clear. Tell our families we loved them." 1 second. The dreadnought hit the 2 destroyers at full speed. The impact was catastrophic. The destroyers crumpled like paper. Metal tore. Reactors breached. Both ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Over 600 human crew members died instantly. But the dreadnought's course changed. Just slightly. Just enough. It passed within meters of the command ship's hull. So close that crew members could see through its windows. But it did not hit. It tumbled past and exploded a moment later as its own damaged reactors finally failed. The command ship survived. Silence filled every communication channel in the fleet. Coalition and Krell alike stopped fighting for a moment. Everyone had seen what happened. Everyone understood what it meant. 2 human ships had sacrificed themselves to save aliens they had never met, from species that had not even invited them to the battle. In the council chambers, several delegates were openly weeping. Species that did not even have tear ducts were making sounds of grief. They remembered that day. Some of them had been on that command ship. The video showed the aftermath of the battle. The Krell fleet was broken. Their homeworld's defenses were shattered. Within weeks, the Krell Dominion would surrender. The war would end. But none of that was what the video focused on. Instead, it showed the coalition fleet regrouping, damaged ships limping back to formation, medical vessels collecting survivors, and Admiral Voss's flagship approaching the human carrier Seoul. The footage switched to inside the Seoul's main hangar bay. The space had been cleared. 2 rows of empty chairs sat in the center. 1 row for the Busan's crew. 1 row for the Gwangju's crew. More than 600 empty chairs. Captain Yuna stood at attention in front of them. She had been crying. Her face was wet. Her eyes were red. But she stood straight. Behind her, the Seoul's entire crew formed ranks, silent, grieving. A shuttle entered the hangar. Admiral Voss emerged. He was Telkari, which meant he had 4 arms and stood nearly 3 meters tall. His exoskeleton was deep purple. His eyes were multifaceted like an insect's. He moved slowly toward Captain Yuna. Behind him came officers from every species in the coalition: Quelna, Hevrani, Velkari, others. They formed a crowd of different shapes and colors and sizes, but they all had the same expression: grief, respect, gratitude. Admiral Voss stopped in front of the empty chairs. He looked at them for a long time, then he turned to Captain Yuna. "Why?" he asked. His voice was soft, broken. "Why did they do it? We did not invite you to this battle. We did not ask for your help. We told you to leave. Why did your people sacrifice themselves for us?" Captain Yuna's voice was steady despite her tears. "Because that is what humans do." Voss's 4 arms spread wide. A gesture of confusion. "I do not understand. Explain it to me. Help me understand why 600 of your people chose to die for 12,000 of ours." Captain Yuna looked at the empty chairs, then back at Voss. "Every species in this galaxy evolved survival instincts, predation strategies, defense mechanisms, ways to protect themselves and their own. Humans evolved those things too, but we evolved something else as well, something that our scientists think made us different." She stepped closer to Voss. "We evolved cooperation, not just with our families, not just with our tribes, with everyone. Humans survived on our homeworld because we worked together. We shared food. We protected each other's children. We built communities. When we reached the stars, that instinct did not disappear. It expanded. You want to know what makes humans dangerous?" she continued. "It is not our weapons, not our ships, not our tactics. It is that we genuinely cannot stand by and watch others suffer, even strangers, even aliens, even when it costs us everything." Admiral Voss stared at her. "That is irrational." Captain Yuna smiled sadly. "Yes, it is completely irrational, but it is who we are." The footage ended there. The lights in the council chamber came back up slowly. Ambassador Jiwoo stood in the center of the room. She had not moved during the entire presentation. Now she looked around at the delegates, at the different species, the different faces showing different emotions. Some were crying, some were angry, some looked thoughtful, but none of them were laughing anymore. Jiwoo spoke quietly, her voice carried in the silence. "You asked me here today to defend humanity's request for full council membership. Instead, Delegate Thress proposed banning us from the galaxy. He said we are dangerous. He said we should be contained before we become a threat." She turned to look at Thress. The mantis-like being had not moved. Its black eyes reflected nothing. "Delegate Thress is correct," Jiwoo said. "We are dangerous. We have weapons that can destroy fleets. We have ships that move faster than you think possible. We have tactics that your military analysts still do not fully understand. We are very good at war. We had to be. Our homeworld forced us to be." She walked slowly around the chamber floor. "But being good at war is not what makes us dangerous. What makes us dangerous is what you saw in that video. We will cross 40 light years to defend farmers. We will die to protect strangers. We will help you fight your wars even when you tell us to go away." Jiwoo stopped walking. She faced the full council. "You wanted to ban humanity because you fear what we might become. I showed you what we already are. Now you have a choice to make. You can vote to contain us, restrict us, keep us isolated in our small corner of the galaxy. That is your right." Her voice grew harder. "But understand what that choice means. The Krell are defeated now. Their empire is broken. But there will be others. There are always others. Pirates, raiders, empires that decide they want what their neighbors have. And when those threats come, you will face them without us, without our fleets, without our weapons, without our irrational willingness to die for people we have never met. She let that sink in. The Krell learned what happens when you threaten humans. They learned the hard way. Today you have to decide something different. Do you want us as allies, or do you want to find out what happens when you make us your enemies? The chamber was completely silent. Even the usual background sounds had stopped. No one whispered. No one moved. Then Admiral Voss stood up. The huge Telkari moved to the center of his delegation's area, his 4 arms spread wide. "I was there," he said. His voice was strong, clear. "I was on that command ship. I watched those 2 destroyers position themselves in front of us. I heard their captains say goodbye to their families. I lived because 600 humans decided my life was worth more than theirs." He turned to address the full council. "I have commanded fleets for 40 years. I have fought in 17 major battles. I have seen bravery from many species. But I have never seen what I saw that day. I have never seen anyone sacrifice themselves for strangers from another world." His voice grew louder. "Any vote to ban humanity will be opposed by the Telkari Confederation. We stand with Earth. We stand with the species that saved us when they had no reason to. We stand with the people who chose to help us even when we told them to leave." Another delegate stood, then another. Within minutes, representatives from 34 species were on their feet. Coalition members who had fought alongside humans, species whose colonies had been defended by human fleets, worlds that had traded with Earth and found humans to be honest partners. They stood together, different shapes, different colors, different biologies. But united in one thing, they would not vote to ban humanity. Delegate Thress remained seated. He looked around the chamber, seeing the standing delegates, understanding that his proposal had failed before the vote even began. Council President Vorth raised its eye stalks. "Delegate Thress, in light of the current situation, do you wish to proceed with your proposal?" Thress was silent for a long moment. Finally, it spoke. "I withdraw my proposal." Its voice was flat, emotionless. Vorth nodded. "Very well. We move to the original matter. Ambassador Jiwoo has requested full council membership for the Terran Coalition. All in favor?" Every delegate stood, even Thress, even the species that had been most suspicious of humanity. The vote was unanimous. "The motion passes," Vorth announced. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Jiwoo. May your people find the same friendship here that you showed others in their darkest hour." Jiwoo bowed, a deep, respectful bow. "Thank you, honored council. We will do our best to be worthy of your trust." The session ended. Delegates began to file out. But many stopped to speak with Jiwoo, to shake her hand, to touch her shoulder with whatever appendages they had. Some thanked her, some asked questions about the video, some just wanted to meet the ambassador who had changed the council's mind. Admiral Voss waited until most of the others had left. Then he approached Jiwoo. Up close, he was enormous, but he moved gently, carefully. "That was quite a presentation," he said. "Tell me something. Was any of it exaggerated? Did you edit the footage to make humans look better?" Jiwoo smiled. "I cut 70% of the footage. I thought showing everything would seem like bragging." Voss stared at her. Then he made a sound like grinding rocks. Jiwoo had learned that was Telkari laughter. "There is more? More than what you showed us?" "Much more," Jiwoo confirmed. "The Daejeon incident involved 3 other battles we did not have time to show. The Krell War had 17 major engagements. We participated in 6 of them, and there are 43 other incidents involving human forces protecting non-human colonies or vessels. Would you like to see them?" Voss's laughter grew louder. "No, I believe you. I believe all of it." He paused. "I am glad you are on our side, Ambassador. I truly am." "So are we, Admiral. So are we." As Jiwoo left the council chamber, she allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had been accepted, not because they begged, not because they made promises, but because they showed who they really were. Dangerous, yes, but dangerous in defense of others. Strong, yes, but strong in service of the weak. Aggressive, yes, but aggressive toward anyone who threatened innocent lives. The galaxy had laughed at the idea of banning humans. Then they saw the video. Then they understood. And now humanity had a seat at the table where decisions were made, where the future was shaped, where they could help protect not just their own people, but everyone. It was exactly what they had wanted. Not power, not dominance, just the chance to help, because that was what humans did. Outside the station, human ships waited, ready to respond to any call for help, any emergency, any threat. They would wait there forever if needed. Patient, vigilant, protecting a galaxy that was slowly learning to trust them. And somewhere on a farming colony called Daejeon, children played in parks, teachers taught classes, scientists studied plants. Families lived their lives in peace, because humans had decided long ago that some things were worth dying for, and apparently the galaxy had finally decided that was worth something too.